It is 7:36 here at KTRS. Jay Kanzler, Kelly Jackson, and by the music you can tell we're going to talk boxing. And we are joined by Kirk Douglas, not the 100-year-old actor, but Kirk Douglas, the USA Boxing President for Ozark 22. And I want to thank you for coming in. I know the great thing about amateur boxing in the area is it's run by regular people like you. I'm participate in it, but you spent the whole night as an iron worker.
Yes, sir.
And so you've come in after a long shift and are going to talk boxing with us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you
Not
for
a
coming
problem.
in.
Tell us about USA Boxing in the St. Louis area.
Well, Ozark 22 is the local boxing council of USA Boxing, which is headquartered in Colorado Springs. And basically what we do is we have kids from the ages of 8 years old all the way up to 35. They compete as amateur boxers. And then if you want to continue to compete after that, or if you're just an older gentleman or young lady that wants to compete, after 35 years old, you can compete as a master division boxer, where you can compete with people of your own age and of course weight and things like that. But really, our program is geared towards getting the kids in the gym, keeping them off the streets, keeping them out of trouble, and giving them something to do, giving them an outlet. A lot of kids that come to our gyms might not have the best of families at home, and they need to channel their maybe their anger with some of them, and it's a good way to do that. Gives them discipline, gives them structure, and hopefully helps create a atmosphere that will create
some
a
positive
good young man.
influence.
It gives them character. Myself, I trained at 12th and Park Recreation Center under Kenny Lohr, who had Michael and Leon Spinks. They were both gold medalists in the Olympic Games. Both became world champion fighters. And Kenny Lohr was a hard-nosed man. He was an ex-Marine. And when you walked into his gym, you trained, and that was the bottom line. But I run my gym the same way. I have my own gym now.
What's the name of your gym?
My gym is Frankie D's Boxing Club. It's in Moscow Mills, Missouri. And I come from a long line of boxers in my family. My father, all my uncles, my great uncles, my grandfather, everybody boxed. And it's just something that I myself have grown up with my entire life, and just this past January I became president of the Ozark 22, and it's definitely been a challenging event. I've had a lot to deal with over the last year, some of it not to do with boxing, some of it not so pleasant, but bottom line is I like what I do.
Now we make clear here. This is amateur boxing.
Yes.
This is from this boxers can graduate on and go into the pros. But this is
Correct.
Kind of the boxing that you would see at the Olympics.
Right.
3 rounds, up to 3 minutes,
Right.
and so how many gyms in St. Louis are there that participate in the amateur boxing?
Let's say there's about 20, if I had to, off the top of my head, about 22 or 23 gyms total.
You mentioned females too.
Yes.
How many are there? Are there more and more women in this area boxing?
In the St. Louis area, we don't have that many, but the few that we do have actually do very well.
Absolutely. I've judged a number of female fights, and they
Yeah.
can be real exciting.
Really?
Yeah,
and it's not a sideshow. There's some good boxing.
Yeah. Most definitely. Yeah.
And so you said some 20-odd gyms in the St. Louis area. Where are most of those located, or are they spread out throughout the region?
Yeah, we have our city rec gyms, which is ran by the Parks and Recreation. You have 12th and Park, you have Booter, you have Gamble, which are spread out all over the city. And then you have your county gyms like myself. My dad has a gym in Cedar Hill. And you have a lot of the MMA gyms that have boxing programs also. And so we get a variety of guys from there.
Now, there's a distinction between MMA and USA Boxing. USA Boxing is not part of MMA.
No.
And vice versa. Is it tougher and tougher to get the young kids into the gym these days?
Yeah, it is definitely, for a variety of reasons. One being, just being out in the streets, especially with the inner city kids, they're running around, they're seeing, maybe their uncles or cousins and doing things, and obviously they want to imitate that. That's a family member. Also, social media, games, Facebook, sitting in front of TV playing Xbox, things like that. They may not be getting in trouble, but they're sitting on their butt and they don't want to do anything. The days of the kids just being outside and playing all day until the street lights came on, you don't see that.
Right. I was going to also say, with other sports, there's football, basketball, where some kids think that may be a quicker outlet of making money faster, and boxing is.
Yeah, we do compete with that big time. Obviously, kids are wanting to get scholarships, move on to college, things like that. But a lot of kids don't realize you can get a scholarship for boxing also. There's not a lot of colleges around, but there are some that still do that. And one is in Michigan in particular. And I believe there's one in Nevada. But you can box in college and, get a good education while you're doing it.
There are a number of fighters coming up through the ranks, or they've come up through the ranks of the amateur system here, that are kind of on the verge of breaking into the professionals. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who are some of those folks?
Well, actually, one of them, his name is Kevin Ford. He's from the Gamble Recreation Center. He just turned pro. A very good featherweight boxer. He's a top amateur for the last several years, and he just had his pro debut, which he won. We have Josh Temple, who he was the runner-up at the Olympic trials. So he got beat out in the very last match to go to the Olympics. And he was the number one heavyweight in the United States for, I want to say, the last 3 or 4 years. So he just turned pro. I believe he's 2-0 now. And he's the biggest one at this point in time that has come out of St. Louis. And we're really looking to see him do some pretty good things.
How do people get involved? The listeners saying, you know what, my kid's been talking about it, or I'd like to see my kid get involved, my son or my daughter. What's the easiest way? What's the route to amateur boxing in St. Louis?
Right now, if people want to get involved in our program, they can call either myself or my wife. My wife is a registration chairperson. We can give you the information of all the fight shows that are coming up, give you all the information on how to, if you want to become an official like yourself, and work with the kids in that way, or even in the gyms. We can give them the information to get to the different gyms in the city. Also on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Ozark 22 Boxing. If you look that up on Facebook, and that's got a lot of information, about our program.
Let's go ahead and give the number, because I think there are lots of people. I, for the longest time wanted to participate in this, and then reached out to you and got a hold of you, and it's been great. I think other people would like to do the same. What's the number?
You can call myself, Kirk Douglas, at 314-403-5428, or Stacy Douglas at 636-887-5319.
And the Facebook page is Ozark 22?
Ozark 22 Boxing.
Upcoming shows. I'd love to see more people come out. I mean, you get great crowds, but I know you have the Golden Gloves coming up. Tell us about that as we finish up the segment.
The Golden Gloves Novice Tournament is at the Heart of St. Charles Banquet Center coming up this month. I believe it starts on the 22nd is the preliminaries, I believe, is when they start. And that's for all the boxers that have had 10 fights or less. And then later on this year, the Open Tournament will happen. But, that's going to be at the Heart of St. Charles Banquet Center. It's a big tournament, what all the kids look forward to fighting in. And we hope that we have a lot of kids enter this year, because it's been, a little low on the numbers over the past year, so we're hoping that we get a big turnout.
All right.
Kirk, I got to ask
yeah.
you: Is Jay a pretty good official?
Actually, he's one of our best ones. We've actually discussed that.
Well, thank you, and I love it, and it is so refreshing and so exciting to see. Not only the participants, but the coaches and all the people, yourself, Kirk, out there making a real influence, a real positive difference in the lives of young men. And, I'm very proud to be a part of it. Kirk Douglas, president of USA Boxing Ozark 22, thank you so much for coming in after a long night of ironworking.
Thanks for having me.
It's 747 KTRS, the Big 550.